What is up, guys? It's the Mohawk Guy here, and today we're going to be traveling back in time, all the way back to the prehistoric Intel Pentium 4 era, featuring the dinosauric Dell Precision 380 Workstation PC. Before we time travel back in time to review the Dell Precision 380 Workstation PC, I figured I'd tell you guys how I managed to acquire it in the first place. I have been needing a PC to work on during the MCO, that's the movement control order for those who are not living in Malaysia. So I approached a friend of mine to see whether he had an extra PC. And it just so happens he has one lying around. He used it for a server he had in his house, but has since then upgraded to a newer PC. Now let's rewind the clock and take a deeper dive into the guts of the Dell Precision 380. First things first, the motherboard uses the Intel 955X chipset codenamed Lakeport X. This means that it can't be upgraded beyond the Intel Pentium D CPU, which to me is truly a wasted opportunity because the 955X chipset actually supports up to 8GB of dual channel RAM. The CPU that came with the Precision 380 is the single core Pentium 4 CPU clocked in at 3GHz. The CPU cooler seems to be a custom cooler by Dell, with the fan being beside the thick boy heatsink blowing air through the chamber-looking doodad. I didn't need to do any repasting as my friend had already repasted it before he donated the PC to me. Neat! Interestingly, I tried slotting in an Intel Pentium E5700 from another PC I had lying around. It's a long story, maybe for another video. And to absolutely no one's surprise but my own weirdly high expectation, it didn't work. The PC would turn on, but it would not post. So I decided to go online to purchase the motherboard's highest level of CPU upgrade, the Intel Pentium D, for a rather ridiculous price of only 7 Malaysian ringgit. That's roughly only $1.61. That's cheaper than a McDonald's McChicken. It was a rather hated upon CPU at the time due to its substantially higher TDP and thermal output, while performing marginally lower than a lower TDP Intel Core 2 Duo CPU based on the Conroe architecture. I was honestly surprised to find out upon first inspection that the PC had some sort of GPU inside of it. I had my expectations really low. It gave me a good shake when I found out it had an ATI Fire GL3100 with 128MB of VRAM. The GPU itself is a good laugh in our modern day. It has a 64-bit memory bus giving it a bandwidth of 3.136GB per second, 4 pixel shaders, 2 vertex shaders, 4 TMUs, and 4 ROPs. It lacks a unified shader, and that proves to be a problem in the second half of this video. The Dell Precision 380 had 2GB of DDR2 400MHz RAM, which I later added another 1GB stick, totaling to an odd 3GB of RAM. Moving on to storage, my friend originally donated the PC along with an 80GB WD hard drive, along with a pair of 250GB Maxton slave drives. But the WD hard disk kept crashing while I was trying to perform even the lightest of tasks, so I decided to swap out all the hard drives for a laptop hard drive I had lying around. Why do I have one conveniently lying around? Hit that subscribe button to find out in the next video. Shameless plug out of the way, the newer-ish hard drive is a 2.5-inch, 2.5-inch, 750GB Seagate hard drive, spinning at 5400 RPMs. Not really a fast drive, but a drive that proved to be much more stable. The operating system that was originally running was a funny 32-bit version of Windows 7, which made the PC feel extremely sluggish. So I decided to install a 64-bit version, and without getting too much into details, it already felt much faster afterwards. Now that we have the specs established, how does a 16-year-old PC perform in 2020? First up, we're going to be testing how the Pentium 4 640 would perform, and then we'd be taking a look on how the Pentium D925 would perform. Well, after pure excitement from receiving the Intel Pentium D925 after purchasing it in Lazada, I have absolutely forgot to record any footage for the performance testing of the Intel Pentium 4. Therefore, all footages and testing from here on out will be based on the Pentium D925. I am honestly surprised by how not bad this system actually runs. And not bad is pretty much the whole theme of this video. Let's take a look at how fast it boots. "60 seconds! That's a flat minute! Considering the fact that this system is already 16 years old, that is pretty impressive. Web browsing is not bad as well. Loading up web pages takes a bit of time to load the content, but after a few seconds, browsing was considerably smooth. YouTube streaming is a possibility on the machine, although not without its caveats. YouTube loads pretty quick, and the experience is not bad, and once you load the video all the way up to 480p, things are still okay. But hit the 720p option and it's all downhill. The video does stream smoothly, but once you move the mouse cursor around, it all becomes a jittery mess. The stutters are terrible, but it is possible if you were to only watch a YouTube video. But if you were to multitask, just be sure to turn down the settings to 360p for better performance. What about editing documents? Yeah, it's very much possible. I don't have a copy of Microsoft Office, so for this video, I'm going to be testing with the WP Office, a free office suite. If you're willing to wait for the program to load, it is a pretty okay experience. I personally don't use WP Office as I find Google Docs to be enough for my requirements, and the experience is superb. But that's not what you're here for. You're here for the games. What games can it play? Can it run Dota 2? Crisis? No, it can't. Could this potentially be a budget gaming solution? The games that I have chosen today are all period accurate. This is where not having unified shaders hurt the performance of the Dell Precision 380. It can't run any modern titles today. Therefore, I've chosen games that I thought to be incredibly fun at the time and were also pretty popular amongst the PC community. I'm also using Fraps to benchmark the frame rate scores and monitor the frame rates, but for game capture I'll be using my phone because I don't want to affect the performance of the gameplay. The first game on the list is EA's Command & Conquer Generals, an incredibly fun real-time strategy game back then and even today. I have yet to find an RTS as fun as this. The settings of the game are 1024 by 768 for resolution and a custom texture setting where I have disabled everything except for 2D shadows because anything on results in incredibly slow gameplay. How does it play? Very good actually. The game still looks pretty good too. The highest frame rate it hit was 63 frames per second when the scene wasn't too busy and 50 frames per second when there was action going on. On average, it stayed around 59.3 frames per second all throughout. Not bad for a 16-year-old card. The next game was everyone's favorite in 2004, and there are still people playing it today. Warcraft Frozen Throne, the expansion pack to Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos. I personally never got to play it myself at the time, but have been able to play quite a lot of it since I hit college. Yes, I am a very late bloomer. The resolution of the game was set to 800 by 600, while the textures were set to high, for a good balance. The game managed to achieve 66 frames per second when nothing much was going on, and 61 when something was going on, while the average frame rate is 64 frames per second. Again, pretty good for an old PC, and not to mention that the GPU was already weak when it was released at the time.
More lumber is required.
Next on the list is a game where I personally still need to complete. It's made by the same person who created my favorite game series of all time. It's System Shock 2. My early impressions of the game are already very positive. Hell, I might even do a retro review for it. So these are the settings. Let's see how it performs. The 380 managed to work out a pretty good 61 frames per second on its highest, while the lowest is 25 frames per second. The game averaged at about 44 frames per second all throughout. The last game on the list is a more or less talked about game, Star Wars Jedi Knight Jedi Academy. I don't really know why I felt like testing this game, but I just did. I used to watch my older brother play the hell out of this game. I haven't played this game myself personally, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna make a retro review out of the game as well, because it's been very fun so far. And right away, the Dell Precision 380 achieved a very high 92 frames per second, while hitting 32 frames per second on the lowest frame rate, averaging at 52.6 all throughout. So that was the Dell Precision 380 Workstation PC. A very much capable PC, even though it's almost as old as I am. Should you go out and get one for yourself? That is, if you manage to find one in the first place. No. In my opinion, it's not worth all the hassle. You can easily get a Dell Optiplex 380 instead with an Intel Core 2 Duo CPU for around only $40 US. It's a substantially more powerful PC. But if you're into collecting retro PCs, I don't see why you shouldn't. I'm already planning to make another video where I will be upgrading the GPU, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and click on the notification bell so you know when the next video drops. Thanks very much guys for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this vid, and be sure to comment down below what you want to see in the next video. I already said what I want to make in the next video, so in the next video after that one. My name is the Mohawk Guy. I hope you guys have a nice day wherever you are, and I am signing out. See you guys on the next one.